Jesus says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may also be. And you know the way to the place where I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we don't know where you are going. How can we know the way?" Jesus said to him, "I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him." Philip said to him, "Lord, show us the Father, and then we'll be satisfied." Jesus said to him, "Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I don't speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. But if you do not, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you, the church, ask for anything, I will do it." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Based upon the music we've been playing for you thus far on this turning out to be a pretty lovely May 10th, you may have figured out that country music has an awful lot of songs about mothers or about mothering. My goodness, we heard Kenny Rogers sing a classic here not so long ago. He was the heartthrob of an entire generation. My Uncle Don had to grow a beard and keep it after he turned gray, because my Aunt Yvonne loved Kenny Rogers. Not quite as much as my Uncle Don, but she loved him an awful lot. But one of the country music songs that didn't make the cut today was recorded by a renowned artist called Waylon Jennings. I love Waylon Jennings. My father-in-law Fred and I have bonded over him for many years now, as long as we've known each other. And one of the songs we really like was recorded with Willie Nelson in 1978. It's called "Mamas, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys." If you know that song, why don't you give me a little honk of recognition. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Knowing the song as you do, you probably know its moral is that mamas should raise their babies to be doctors and lawyers and such, and never cowboys. I'd like to quibble with that sentiment a little bit this morning. It's not that I don't think doctors and lawyers and such aren't important. They are important. With COVID-19 now claiming over 80,000 American lives in no time at all, I think we now know more than ever how important doctors and other medical professionals are. This is also, by the way, the 21st anniversary of the day when a member of Mount Calvary named Paul Schwartz was given a new lease on life by the medical establishment through a heart transplant. Doctors and medical professionals are important, so are lawyers. There might be a lawyer here today named David Reho. He practices law in Johnstown, and he got my mother out from underneath the influence of a crook just last fall. I'll forever be grateful to him. Lawyers and doctors are important. Do we have any mothers who raised lawyers and legal professionals or doctors and medical professionals here this morning? If so, let us know with a honk. I figured we might. Kudos to you, kudos to you. But just because your kids are important, and they are, just because doctors and lawyers and such are important, doesn't mean cowboys aren't important too. Just think about it. If we're going to eat, if we're going to enjoy ice cream, if we're going to consume eggs and milk and other dairy products, we need people to cowboy livestock for us. It's what my father-in-law Fred did for all of his working life. He went to Penn State University in the early 50s, learned how to be a cowboy, got a degree saying he knew how to be a cowboy 4 years later, and cowboyed the York County acreage that's been in his family since 1742 for many years after that. We need cowboys. We need people who cowboy the livestock that keeps us alive and fed. And we need cowboys of another sort as well. When I think of cowboys, I think of colorful characters. My father-in-law is one of those people too. He says what he means when he says it, how he means to say it, often eliciting laughter, both unintended and intended, each time he does. Our world would be pretty boring without the cowboys we call colorful characters. Agree? I think so. Good. You might have a colorful character talking to you. Oh, you'll have to tell me whether you agree about that some other time. But this I'll tell you. This I will say. Waylon Jennings was wrong. We do need doctors and lawyers and such, but we need cowboys, colorful characters, and every other kind of person just as much. And here's the punchline. God needs all of those people as well. God needs every sort of person we can call to mind today. Every kind of different kid raised by a mother. It's the point of our reading from 1 Peter today. In that reading, the apostle, St. Peter, addresses the church of all times and all places, anyone and everyone who has ever received his words in faith, and calls all those people, all of us, a royal and holy priesthood. The only way that works is if we all serve God equally, no matter what we do. The only way we can be all members of a royal and holy priesthood is if cowboys, lawyers, doctors, and such serve God and neighbor as much as any pastor or priest ever could. I think Pastor Jonathan and I might be the only people wearing a collar here today. We're undoubtedly the only people wearing priestly vestments today. But our reading from 1 Peter says none of that matters. We are all members of a royal and holy priesthood. God needs us all. God uses us all. Even if we're a cowboy, St. Peter says, we can serve God in our own unique, individual, utterly important way. And good mothers know this. What good mothers do, along with other teachers, including the church, is this. They don't parent by some predetermined rule book. They don't rear their children according to some prefabricated mold. What good mothers, good teachers, good parents, good churches do is raise each kid individually. Encourage each kid to be the special, unique person God and the world needs them to be. There's only one exception to that rule. It's when a red or yellow flag needs to be waved because a kid has gotten off course. But I'd suggest to you that those red and yellow flags may be a lot less necessary than we sometimes think they are. In our reading from John today, Jesus says he is the way, the truth, and the life. That means any kid who's following after Jesus in one of a gazillion possible ways should be encouraged to do more of the same. And if you're unclear this morning about what it means to follow after Jesus, I'll make it real simple for you. Anyone and everyone who makes life more abundant for others is following after Jesus. And there are indeed a gazillion different ways in order to get that job done. Jesus did it by laying down his holy and precious life for the sake of his friends, for the sake of the world God has never ceased to love. We do it by being the cowboys who keep people fed and or in good spirits, by being the doctors and other medical professionals who keep people well, by being the lawyers and other legal professionals who keep crooks in order, and by being the such and such who serve God and neighbor in oh so many different ways. And so, if you have a child under your care, a person under your influence, and I think we all do, and that person or that child is striving to make life more abundant for others in any of a gazillion possible different ways, please do this. Please give them a hand. Please encourage them. Please applaud them all the way to the finish line. It's the best thing we can do for one another. It's the best thing moms can do for their kids. It's the best thing any teacher can do for those under their care. Encourage them to be the unique, utterly important individual person God needs them to be, and we all need them to be. When this happens, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's so wonderful that it can bring tears to one's eyes. So let me conclude with a story about a local mother who's done what I just got done talking about, who's encouraged their child to be their own unique, God-given self in a way that made me cry when I was practicing this sermon earlier today. This mother's name is Barbara. She did her mothering in a place called Bellwood, Pennsylvania. If you know where Bellwood, Pennsylvania is, why don't you give me a honk? Not too far away. I've passed the sign many times. I've now been to Bellwood because I'm good friends with the son Barbara mothered, a son by the name of the Reverend Stephen Lynn. I never got to meet Barbara personally, but I've got to know her very well through my good friend, the guy I call my big brother. Evidently, Barbara was something of a cowboy herself. To give you an example of this, here's one story about Barbara. After Steve got married to his wife Lois, Lois made a meatloaf, and Barbara was present when that meatloaf was served, and Steve put ketchup on it. And do you know what Barbara told her daughter-in-law? She said he didn't need ketchup when he ate my meatloaf. Sassy, salty, spunky, a real cowboy. Barbara could have held her own at the OK Corral. But Barbara was a wonderful mother and turned out to be a beloved mother-in-law as well. When Barbara gave birth to a dwarf, a midget, in the 1950s, someone they named Paul Stevens Lynn, my good buddy, many people told her she should feel sorry for herself. Many people told her she had gotten bum luck. Many people told her her son had no future other than to be some sort of circus curiosity. Do you think Barbara the cowboy listened to them? She didn't. To quote, I won't quote it all the way, a Johnny Paycheck song, she said, "You can take that and do something with it." She imbued her son with a deep, deep determination and deep, deep dignity. Every night before Steve went to bed, his mother told him the same thing. She turned to the 4th chapter of Philippians, and she told him, "You can do all things through Christ who will strengthen you." And oh my, did that pay off. Steve grew up to pass that message along himself to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and now retired, I think it's safe to say, he became one of the most beloved and respected pastors this area has known in recent years doing so. As I hope you've all heard today, being a pastor doesn't make Steve any more special than anybody else here today. But I would tell you, he is a prime example of what happens when mothers and other teachers, including the church, encourage each kid to be their own person. You ready to do that yourself? Thank you in advance for doing that, and thanks to Barbara Lynn now in heaven for doing that herself. Amen.